I'm in love with this. I love all aspects of this business. It took me a long time to realise that actually that wasn't my lane. Being a DJ is really fun. When someone threatens your life because you want to play a record, you know, the English, I love the English, but they will rip you to shreds.
As a female back then, it must have been tough.
I think it's tougher now. If you're booking me as a token, I'll still take your money. I don't care. Because when I'm on the decks, I'm going to smash it.
Yeah.
So if you still think I'm a token after that, that's on you.
Yeah.
SaSaSaS show. Best of the best of the best with the very fresh flow.
Yes, yes, yes. Sound like an MC there, innit? And welcome back.
That MC in you is fighting to get out,
bruv,
isn't he?
It's coming. Yo, I'm gonna introduce the next
even that was
artist.
good. Yo, it's like an ad-lib.
I'm gonna introduce the next artist, our special guest, in a rap format. Rap, do you get it? Do you see what I just did there? Hey, with none other, we want to welcome none other than a beautiful, famous jungle don, drum and bass queen, DJ Rap.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much.
Yes, it's absolutely an absolute pleasure to welcome you to our podcast.
And here.
Yeah, and you know, how are you? How is everything?
Things are great. I'm happy to be here with such handsome, talented
You're too kind. You're too kind.
No, this is really fun. It's awesome.
Yeah, so listen, right, one thing, for those the younger viewers don't know, DJ Rap would be one of the first, if not the first, jungle DJ, female jungle
Yeah, it's
DJ.
funny because, you know, I get this question a lot and a lot of people are like, oh, you were the first female DJ. And the truth is I wasn't. There were many other amazing female DJs, but I was the first to play on the same stage as the guys and get paid the same as the guys. So back in the day, we were shoved in the back room and girls weren't allowed to play on the main stage with the boys.
Right.
So it was always like you had Astoria, Keith Moon Bar, girls at the back, you know, and then the boys would be playing the main
Literally a
stage.
separate room.
Yeah.
For female DJ.
That's how it was,
Mad.
yeah.
And what kind of time period was this? Like 90s or before that?
PC. No.
No, it would have been early 90s, right?
I started in 1988, so probably just around that time.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's mad.
Yeah.
That was the first time I heard. The first time I heard you was it was the first time I was performing was at Outrage, Busby's.
Oh my God,
Yeah,
Busby's.
so
That was a sick venue.
I see you perform live and I heard you. And yeah, you're right. You was the only female that was up there.
Yeah.
It was like Hardcore General, like, I don't know, Randall, like all those guys, you know what I mean? You was smashing it up there, so yeah.
Thank you. Yeah,
Big love.
it was just the way it was. I don't think it was like, you know, we hate women, it wasn't like that. It was just the way it was. It was just that, you know, if you were producing records, then automatically you were like, you know, a DJ on a stage doing it. And you've got to understand all the guys that were sort of producing. There isn't really a DJ that just DJs, is there? They're all...
Well, there used to be back in the day, because I remember everybody was, like we were talking earlier on about, there was a time where producers were quite happy to just sit in their studio and just produce, and they didn't really care.
DJs got too famous,
Well, no, I think what it is the sign of the times, and like how you can't really earn money from making a record no more, really.
With the streams.
Yeah, with the streams, that you, unless your record just absolutely blows. But so it forced people to have to go out and perform. You know, and that's why there's been a massive influx of DJs in each different genre. You know, but as a female back then, it must have been tough.
I think it's tougher now.
You think it's tougher now?
God, I'm battling all kinds of things. I think for me, the sexism never really existed because I've got to tell you a funny story. Do you know how I got my first gig? So I left home at 14, and back in the day, you had to go to the Dole and you'd have to look for work, right? So at 16, I could get some part-time sort of work. So I'd go into the Dole office and I'd sit down and you'd have a phone and you could call for interviews and stuff. So I'd call promoters and say that my brother was a DJ. Could he have a shot? Could he send a demo in? I'm working to help him out. And then that's partly why I use the name Rap. And then I got in, you know, and then when I turn up, they'd be like, oh, you're a girl. And I'd be like, well, just because I got tits, I can still DJ calls, mate. It's all good.
Wow.
But it was like,
that's mad.
you know, I would trick my way in. So, and then the thing is like, in a way, it helped me being a female because one, I could produce and make hits, which was important, right? Not to just DJ. And I was in studios learning how to cut tape, making coffee. I lived in a studio. I was understanding MIDI when other girls were interested in boys. I'm in like, MIDI, what's that? How do I get that, you know, SLR desk? What's going on with all the wires? I was just still am obsessed with technology and plugins and everything. But the moment the guys, the promoters, and Rain Dance, I think, were one of the first, put me on the main stage, every promoter realised this is a great gimmick as well. I mean, you know, there was a gimmick aspect to it. So being a female, suddenly I got a lot of attention. And of course, you still have to, they opened the door, I had to walk through it and slam it, right?
Yeah.
But the point is like, I think it helped me. It wasn't hard to get bookings. I never struggled for work, ever. I never had to fight to get put on a rave. I never had to turn around and prove it. I just had to be good. Really.
Yeah.
Because my level of good, the bar's pretty high for me. I believe you should be as good as you can be. Excellence is what I strive for. So for me, it was never difficult. Now, I think it would be tough to start because, I don't know, it just seems a lot more clickier. I think back in the day, you know, we're in that love pill, happy sort of hippie era. Everyone was a lot more nicer and sweet.
Yeah, that's what I was going to ask you as well. Like the other guys in the scene and people around the scene, was they welcoming of you coming in, and was everyone cool and you were sort of part of the family straight away? Was there any resistance to you being a female coming in at that period of time?
There was lots of resistance, but I never had anyone say, I'm not going to play Spiritual Aura or that tune because it was made by a girl. So the moment I flung my producer hat down and showed the boys that I was serious about it, and I think, you know, Frost, Fabio championed me a lot, and they saw that I didn't dress in a sexual way. I was all about the music, and I never tried to cheat or cut corners or whine about that. I just was ferocious in my approach to doing it. And I think you can see that in someone. You can see when they're hungry. You can see that they're serious. They're putting in every hour they can. They're playing everywhere for free. They're just saying, I'll do the 5 o'clock slot at Pirate Radio Station. It doesn't matter. There's rats and cockroaches flying around. Right? I'll sleep in that sleeping bag and I'll do it.
Did you do much pirate radio? Because Shabba's, like, that's a big thing for Shabs is pirate. See, me, I don't know whether I was spoiled in a way. I just kind of went to the raves. I bypassed pirate, if you know what I mean. So I did the few show here and there, but it wasn't like every day or every week I was there. So is that something you did? Did you do every week at radio?
Cut my teeth on it. First started on, I think it was Rave FM, and Cool Hand Flex started to show me how to mix, and he's lovely. And then Hype got me in on Fantasy, which was where I really made my mark. And I would do these shows where I'd be, you know, like tripping balls, and then I'd do a show with Stacey Tuff and we'd be laughing. We'd go to Dungeons and come back and do the 5-6 o'clock show straight coming from Dungeons. And you know, I'm sober now, but
sorry,
at
Dungeons,
the time,
for those that don't know, Dungeons was,
that was
an underground venue in Lea Bridge Road, and
what a venue!
And I'll tell you what, it was. It was mad in there,
It was
man.
a spot, yeah?
Bruv, it was mad. I don't know. I wouldn't say it was the spot because, like, there was.
It was a time.
Let's put it this way. Only the bravest of the brave went to there.
So,
respect to you.
So was it Acid House, yeah?
Yeah. So it was
Okay.
Like the warehouse, I used to do a lot of parties where it was just before the jungle era, really.
This was this would be in the rave. This would be in the rave.
It went from hard, for me, it was like hardcore jungle, innit?
Yeah.
Like after that, but the hardcore thing was massive off, you know, at
Lea Bridge Road would have been like the Acid House.
So this is Acid House.
hardcore days.
Yeah, you had
Yeah.
Clink Street doing that sort of Acid House parties,
Street as well.
and then
Cedric Street,
but Lea Bridge Road where you go after the parties, and it was sort of the end up place, and had all these tunnels. It was like a labyrinth. And
I missed out, man.
Oh,
I'd have loved it.
Honestly.
Especially in my raving days.
Yeah, the thing is, this is like, we often say this, is like, you know, the kids now, like my daughters and that, they'll never get to experience some of the madness that we went into. Like, for example, like, I don't know if Lea Bridge Road, was it like in the Monday to Friday, was it like a car garage, like, you know, where they fixed cars?
I think so.
Yeah, and then what it is at the weekend they'd move all the shit out, and it'd become a rave venue, and it was
like a yard, innit? It was like a dump, not like like a garage. Industrial.
Yeah, exactly, an industrial area. Sorry,
I used to hear about it.
Yeah. Listen,
I
the
never
cost
went
of
there
energy
later. So I was about 16, 17, but when I was like 13, 14, I see all the big boys going, we're going Dungeons tonight. Like, I was intrigued by it. When I went there, I was like, wow, this is mad.
You'd see great acts like Shut Up and Dance. Do you know what I mean? They'd get up and do their thing live, and people like, and you know, for me, I spent 5 years raving before I ever made my first record, and it was an amazing experience to go and see those things. But to answer your question, no, I didn't think it was difficult, but there was. How can I say it? There was some sort of pushback because you'd walk into a rave. What was that place called? Was it the WAG?
Oh yeah, the WAG. Yeah.
And I remember Fabio one night, I walk in there with my record box, you know, a feisty like white girl, and Fabio's like, "You all right in here? You know, it's a bit dark in here, mate. Do you need me to stay?" And I was just like, no, I'll be fine. And I get on the decks, and it was Frost who said to me, you know, he says, you just got to walk in there and look pissed off. Yeah. You just walk
That's great advice. Big up
like
Frost,
you're going to
man.
murder someone, or it's your time in a month and you're pissed off, and you'll be fine.
Yeah, yeah.
Big up Nigel, man. I love
you know
that
how
guy.
Frosty's like, she's got to have a screw face, you know, screw face. And then you know, these guys, you know, like my brothers, they tell me like, Frosty be like, you got to wear feeler clothes, you know, and just like how to dress. And they really guided me. But the moment I got on those decks, it was just like, you know, everything just disappeared and that was it.
Yeah.
I never really felt that I got stick. Probably was a little too mouthy for my own good and had a few.
Now, do you know
fights
what?
with people.
It's funny. Like, I always remember me and you. There's two things that I'll always remember. If anyone ever mentions you to me, there's two things that I'll always, out of everything that we've ever done together and whatever. One time was we were playing in Nottingham at the Marcus Garvey. She knows what I'm going to say. And I walked in, and I'm telling you now, that was moody in there, wasn't it? And as she was coming off and I was going, she hugged me and she said into my ear, "It's so nice to see a friendly face." And I went, "Oh man, cool, like lovely to see you." And honestly, she let go of me, and then she's gone. She left the venue. I think you even left a record on the deck. I still got it. She was gone. She was out of there. It was moody, right? But another thing as well, this would have been probably about 94, 95. I was around at her flat in Walthamstow, and I never forget, like we were just chatting about, like, because what it is, a lot of my work was in the Midlands and the North, and she was like, you'd done it all over the country, but she had a massive fan promoter base in London and the South. And I always remember you handing me this big old Filofax, and you went, "Here, take any number you want out of there and like just phone them up." And I was just like, I remember thinking,
because that's what you did back in the day.
yeah, you phoned up promoters, didn't you? To introduce yourself. Yeah.
Right.
But I always remember thinking, wow, like this girl who is like, obviously she's rap, she's doing her thing, but she was so like prepared to just like hand over, you know, like her contacts and everything. And I'll never forget that. And I remember looking through it. I knew most of it. I did take a few that I didn't know. But what I thought was that was such a like lovely thing to do when we're in a business where it can be a little bit like kind of
people trying to hold their contacts
they wanna
close.
hold
And
it to themselves.
sometimes they're the people that are like not too confident in themselves.
I was
If you're
just gonna
confident in
say,
what
yeah.
you're
I was
doing,
gonna say.
you can be like, yes, that's cool, man.
she's still there.
That's longevity,
Well,
man.
I think the one thing I'd love to say to new artists especially is that you know, relax, because the talent doesn't go away. You know, work really hard, try not to fuck people over, because it's a long career, I've been in this game over 35 years now. And there are some people, you know, if you take the short view and you screw people over or you mess them up with contracts, people will talk. And your reputation, you know, I mean, I'm not perfect. I know I'm a hothead, and I had to fight hard. Like, you know, back in the day, you'd get bouncers slap you, DJs would smack you, be like, "You can't come in the club and thrown out my ass with my records following me," you know, or if you complain because the needle on the deck's broken, then don't play here, and then you have to fight to get
I got
good
water
equipment.
thrown over me, everything like
It was all
man.
part of it. Like now it's much more civilized, isn't it? But I do miss how everybody looked out for each other, you know, and having gone to LA for 20 years and been here 20 years and then, you know, they now come back. I was surprised when I came back 3 years ago at how that sort of had disappeared in a way.
The community. Yeah. So what happened, like, you know, from like my view is like we had this really successful artist, forget gender and anything, is a very successful artist, and suddenly you just up sticks and you went to America. Like what was the reasoning
There
for
was
that?
there was a lot of reasons. One, musically, I am an artist. I'm a classically trained pianist, so I like exploring all music, and I'm a songwriter, top liner. That's what I do, and I just felt that I wanted to explore tech house, pop electronica. I wanted to explore. I loved rock. I wanted to explore more music, and I think maybe I wasn't as focused on drum and bass as everybody else was. I loved it, but I never thought that was just it for me. What I liked about the scene is there was acid house, then it was hardcore, then and I was going through all these. It kept evolving, and that excited me. It gave me a hard on, if you like, for it, you know. And it was like, and then suddenly it just sort of, it got really dark. Do you remember when the drum and bass just got sort of dark, and it was?
Oh, you talk about that, don't you? Yeah.
I felt like the producers were having a sort of, to excuse my French, a technical wank instead of the melody. And then garage came after that, and all the girls left. Do you remember when they were?
Yeah, man.
And then Craig David arrived, and it was all. So I was.
You remember what year that was?
That would have been around 98 to sort of 98 to
97. That was the era where it went.
No, but 97 was like, because 96 Shy done Chopper. So it would have been, if you think about, so it would have been more towards the 2000s. That 99, 2000
I always
era.
look at it as after AWOL days. It was after that sort of
After
time
that period.
And I think for me, I was just getting a bit bored. And then I sort of hit a ceiling in my career where I was going up and down the motorway, but I wasn't getting any further in my career. I felt that I'd come to a point where it was the same old. And I was also like, I started to get bored. I started to get destructive, self-destructive, started taking a bit too many drugs, should we say, and I was just getting bored. I get bored very easily, man. I work 24/7. I'm constantly on the go. I love what I do. I'm obsessed with work. I'm a workaholic. That's why I'm single. And I'm in love with this. I love all aspects of this business. So I made an album called Intelligence, and I put the worst song you've ever heard on the end of it, which is about being in love with two guys at the same time, as if I'd know. And would I? And then someone at Sony Columbia, a guy called Mick Clark, who's one of the most successful A&R men.
I know Mick Clark, man.
Yeah.
I met him back in the day. Yeah,
he's passed now, but he.
Is he really? R.I.P.
Yeah,
I didn't know that.
He became a very good friend, but he basically signed me to Higher Ground, and then Sony picked up the record in America and said, "Seems like you want to make more than drum and bass. Are you interested in that?" And I was like, "Yeah." And he goes, "Well, I'll put you with Bjork's producer, Dom T, and then Nelly Hooper and all those guys that were all sort of producing at that time, doing that." So I sort of started doing the rounds with, Dom and Aidan Love and these great producers who were all in that Nelly Hooper camp.
Yeah.
And I made Learning Curve, and that record did really well. It went, I sold 3 million copies of that. So I moved to America because I signed a massive deal with Sony. And here now I find myself in arenas with Christina Aguilera, Green Day. I did a few pit stops with David Bowie, and now I'm doing all this stuff. And that sounds great, but then it took me a long time to realise that actually that wasn't my lane.
Yeah.
And I'm glad I explored it. I did tech house residencies. I was resident at Crowbar, Pasha. I did Pasha a lot, and I did Avalon in LA, and I did all these. I played tech house, which I love. I still love tech house. Mark Knight, Tool Room Records. Oh my God! But the pop electronica, I think I sort of had not delusions of grandeur, but I just sort of was like a wild horse, not knowing no bridle on. I didn't really have anyone to anchor me.
You get homesick.
Say, no.
Straight up, didn't miss this weather.
Are you kidding? Have you seen the men in it?
No, that's what I was going to say. LA experience. I mean, to me, America is it's a great place, and I've been a good few times over there, and it's just a great place. The experience must have been wild for 20 years.
It was. I mean, I hit the ground running there. You've got to understand that when I got there, things were big for me.
Yeah,
the record had gone massive. So it was, suddenly you're headlining Coachella and doing all these. It was amazing. No, I didn't have time to miss it.
Did you do it under rap or under another name? That was under rap as well, yeah?
I mean, some of the stuff was under Sharissa Severo, like I did the Calvin Klein campaign.
Yeah, that's what
massive billboards. That was under, but it was just a different experience. Yeah. And after a while, it was fun doing it, but I started to think, what am I doing? I'll give you an example. Imagine Christine Aguilera is going on before you, and then Enrique Iglesias is going on after me, right? Now they're pop, amazing vocalists, but I'm now playing in between them, playing dub plates, singing Good to Be Alive, and I'm not the world's greatest vocalist.
Oh, so you was doing vocals as well?
These are proper songs on this album.
Wicked,
right?
man. Can we listen to this album?
Yeah.
Is it on the streaming sites? I'm going to do that tonight.
I don't know if you'll hear it. You can hear it on my Bandcamp page.
Okay,
Sony,
wicked.
for some reason, take my own music down. don't know.
Okay.
It's one of those things, but it's on my Bandcamp page.
Wicked.
You know? But yeah, that's where all my indie stuff is. And I did another indie album on Ministry of Sound called SaSaSaS. So this is all pop electronica,
Okay.
mainly for film, because I was signed to CAA. So it was like a lot of my stuff's been in movies. Like
Right,
a lot of
wicked.
stuff.
Yeah.
So but again, not great singer. And being in between that just made me feel I never quite, and I thought it's actually quite boring being this. They go to the Grammys and I was like, yawn. It's not exciting. Being a DJ is really fun and exciting.
Yeah.
And I just realised that I got to see the other side of it. And I thought, you know, it wasn't until Fabio started talking to me saying, you know, you should come back home because the music's really good again. It's not like what you left it. And so I started to come back and have a little rave. And oh my God.
Did you come back before that? Like,
Yeah, you came back. Didn't you come back to do a moon dance or something?
I came back a couple of gigs.
Yeah.
I did a drum and bass arena. So that what was the gig at the Elephant and Castle? That place.
Coronet?
Coronet.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah, it is, yeah.
So I did a gig there. That was cool. And then I did a gig at Moondance. And then I just started coming back secretly and staying at Vicky's house, V-Dubs.
Oh, okay. Shout out to V-Dubs, man.
And just raving. And I found myself dancing on a podium. Hospital Records Metric was playing. And I just tears coming down my face. And I was like, it's so good. You know, and I'm sober now. And I have been for a long time. And it's just like, I really, really loved all these new producers that I'd never heard of. Blade Runner,
It's like,
Serum.
was it like you were
all
finding
these guys.
the music again?
The passion
I fell
for it
in love
kind of
with it.
thing.
You have to fall in love to produce.
Yeah.
And even though people slag me off for going away, I'm like, what do you want me to do? Just produce for the sake? If I'm not feeling it, that's like asking me to go out with someone I don't love.
That's just forcing it. You're not going to get the right results, man, at all.
No, and I was feeling pop, I was feeling tech house, I was having success there, but I was still DJing drum and bass. It was just in America. I never left drum and bass. I just didn't come back to England, you know. And one of the reasons I left England as well was because of all the shit I was getting after that General Levy thing, and I got death threats for playing his record.
Yeah. So.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. So.
A lot of
deep,
problems
man.
as well. So I
Yeah.
left because I just felt that I was getting no love. And that when someone threatens your life because you want to play a record, and the whole scene sort of turns against you because then you drop a record, Mr. Kirk, your son is dead, and you don't know someone's got stabbed. You know, the English, I love the English, but they will rip you to shreds the moment you do well.
They,
Can I
they, love,
just
they
say
love to build you up and bring you
Right.
down, innit?
Do you know what?
It's facts, man.
Mikel Arteta actually says that in the Arsenal documentary. No, I'm not trying to bring it into football, but I actually, when he said that, I was like, wow. And he went, you see the English? This is after Saka in the World Cup.
Okay, right, yeah.
Is it the World Cup or the Euros? And he said the English, and this is a Spanish
It's a trait,
guy.
man.
Is he Spanish? He is Spanish.
He's Spanish, yeah,
Spanish
yeah.
guy saying, yes, the English, they'll bring you up just to knock you down. And I think that's just the British way, unfortunately. They like the underdog. And when the underdog becomes successful, it's just like tear
we're
him
coming
down.
from an era with no internet. And, you know, like when you started first DJing and things like that. And even me, when we started MCing, there's no internet. So it was all about networking and doing that. And then the internet comes into play. And now it's so... It's just, you know...
So
it can get toxic, innit,
what you've
man?
achieved with no internet is amazing. Like, no, seriously,
No,
if
the
you
way I
think
look
about
at it is,
it.
thank God there was no internet and the pictures.
Well, do you know what? I just want to kind of go back to you know what you're saying. Like, I feel that, you know, you said you think it's harder for women now. I think that when promoters are putting on shows now, I think that they consciously think
token.
I need to book, and that's what I think. Like
Am I
with a
token?
no, not you, but with no, definitely
No,
not.
you deserve
with
credit.
with a few female artists that we work with, like, you know, like what it is you hope that they don't become a token booking. You want them to be seen as, like, you know, as a serious artist like yourself. Do you know what I mean?
I think the only way around that is to produce, you know. Yeah, I mean, I never give a shit about that stuff. If you're booking me as a token, I'll still take your money. I don't care. Because when I'm on the decks, I'm going to smash it.
Yeah.
So if you still think I'm a token after that, that's on you.
Yeah.
Ultimately, for me, for women, and this is my advice, is just produce the shit out of those records. Amazing artists like Cara and people like that making great records. No one's going to not play a record.
Yeah.
Nah, for real.
No, of course.
It's wicked. So to me, that sexism doesn't really exist in that way. If you're really good at what you do, look at techno. Run by women.
Yeah,
I
well,
mean, so is there?
well, this
That's
is
why she deserves credit, because when you was doing your thing, I mean, in social life general, you know, equal society was less. Do you know what I'm saying? When you was DJing, like now it's more balanced. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like Steve said, like promoters look for females to be on the lineup. Where when you was doing your thing, that wasn't even a thing. Like you said,
you were being booked because
Now
of
I think what we battle is ageism. We battle being stuck in our past. Like, it's an effort to prove to promoters that I play modern records. I don't just play jungle. I produce modern records. I've had number ones on beat. I mean, you know, what does it take for you to shift the perception where you don't lose your jungle fans? Because you would never want to do that, right?
No,
They're your
no,
blood,
it's the
right?
core,
But at the same time, move forward as an artist so you don't get bored, you know? And that's really important. I find that's the struggle for me. It's a bit different. And then, you know, I think as women, it's that ageism thing can come into it a bit, like, you know, oh yeah, didn't you used to be good? Or the worst is when someone comes up, she goes, oh, my dad loves you, and you're just like, oh.
I had that with RD, innit? RD goes, oh, if my older brother was here, shots, he'd be going mad. I was like, how old is he? Oh, he's 30. Oh, that ain't too bad.
You know what? I think it's a blessing, like, to be able to do that to different people and be able to do that to the youngers. Obviously, they're good. When you're young, you're into younger things. Do you know what I mean? You got your new artist, you're on that. But, you know, to be recognised and be doing that with them guys there, it's a blessing. Like, you know, generations, 3 different generations of people is a blessing.
Yeah, it is.
There's not many people that can do that. They're only entertaining one audience. So to get the whole spectrum is a blessing. Trust
I
me.
have a little
Yeah,
trick
feel
that
ya.
calms me down whenever I get annoyed about something, because I'm a high-stress thoroughbred, so I get stressed easy. I just turn around and say 5 things I'm grateful for right away on the spot, and it works. It calms me right
Trust
down.
me.
Yeah.
You could be like, oh, I'm late for this, or calm down. Because
Like that, up
lucky
and
someone
down.
wants your ass for a podcast. Lucky someone wants you to sit with talent like yourselves and do this. You're right, it is a blessing. But even if it is a blessing, you've got to understand artistry, and being an artist is still, just because we do this amazing thing and we're lucky to do it, doesn't mean our problems aren't relative.
No, it's
No, for real.
And it's
facts,
hard.
yeah.
Like,
We were texting the other day about 1 a.m, and then like I texted at 8 and she replied straight away. I was like, do you ever sleep?
voice notes from him that I want to turn into a track.
Yeah.
If I want to be relevant now, I have to continue to do relevant things.
DJs never retire. The phone just stops ringing. Like, that was a really strong quote.
My phone's ringing right now, people. Yeah.